seek unanimous consent to proceed to the consideration of two very qualified nominees to USAID, the kind of nominees that in previous Congresses would have been approved without debate through voice vote. I'll make the motion expecting, unfortunately, objection, and then I'll proceed to comments on why I think this is incredibly damaging to the United States to not proceed forward with these nominees. Thus, Mr. President, I would ask unanimous consent that the Senate consider the following nominations: Calendar 323 and Calendar 337, that the nominations be confirmed, the motions to reconsider be considered made and laid upon the table with no intervening action or debate, that no further motions be in order, the nominations, that any related statements be printed in the record, that the President be immediately notified of the Senate's action.
Is there objection?
Mr. President.
Senator from Kansas.
Mr. President, EcoHealth Alliance has received hundreds of millions of dollars in taxpayer grants and contracts, including $65 million from USAID. This company and their research may well hold in their hands the smoking gun to get to the bottom of COVID's origins, and millions of families who lost loved ones deserve closure. Any federal agency has given them money must be transparent and provide Congress all information on what EcoHealth used that money for. We asked for this information months ago. USAID has failed to do so, and that's why I'm here to object to these two unanimous consent requests. Therefore, I object.
Objection is heard.
Mr. President.
Senator from Connecticut.
Mr. President, I have just asked for unanimous consent for two incredibly qualified, non-controversial administrators at USAID. Isabel Coleman is the nominee to be the USAID Deputy Administrator. She is a seasoned foreign policy professional. She's been nominated by the President to oversee and provide strategic leadership over the agency's programs. She has been previously confirmed by this body by unanimous consent. There are, as far as I can tell, no objections to her candidacy based upon the merits of it, and there were no objections to her candidacy to serve as our ambassador to the UN for Management and Reform in December of 2014. She's a former ambassador. She's spent 20 years in the study and practice of global development. She's worked in the public and the private sector. I had also asked for unanimous consent to proceed to the nomination of Marcela Escobari, the nominee for USAID Assistant Administrator for Latin America and the Caribbean. Ms. Escobari is a regional expert on Latin America and the Caribbean. She's previously served in the exact same role at the agency, and she has done really incredible work reinforcing U.S. support for Peace Colombia. She's been heavily engaged in the long-term development plan for Haiti, as well as in Congress's plans to double funding for Central America to try to stem the root causes of migration. And I think it's incredibly concerning that this blockade of capable diplomats, professional diplomats, continues on the Senate floor. By this time in the Trump administration, President Trump had 22 ambassadors that had been confirmed by the United States Senate, 17 of them by voice vote. Thus far, President Biden has had 4 ambassadors confirmed. Today, I was asking for consideration not of ambassadors, but of professionals who oversee the expenditure of U.S. taxpayer dollars abroad. There's nothing that Senate Republicans can do to stop the expenditure of taxpayer dollars in the Caribbean or Latin America. What they are preventing is the appointment and seating of individuals who oversee that funding, who represent us abroad. And this blockade, this unprecedented blockade, never happened before in the history of the Senate. This kind of obstruction standing in the way of the president's diplomatic team being seated, it compromises our national security. It makes us weaker as a nation. As the president heads to the G20, He doesn't have ambassadors seated to most of the countries in which he's going to be conducting diplomatic negotiations and relations. USAID today only has 2 Senate-confirmed positions, leaving most of its top leadership positions vacant. And so forgive my sense of outrage when I listen to the minority leader come down to the Senate floor and chide the Biden administration for not having a strong enough policy in the Middle East when his minority is using their power to block ambassadors to the Middle East, is using its power to stop an assistant secretary to the Middle East from being seated. You can't have it both ways. You can't come down to the Senate floor and eviscerate the president's foreign policy and then deliberately stop him from having the personnel to conduct that foreign policy. It's like tying your buddy's hands behind his back and then criticizing him for not fighting back against a bully. USAID is at the center of our COVID response. There's no way to protect this nation from this pandemic or future pandemics if we don't have individuals who are confirmed at the top echelons of USAID. I understand Senator Marshall's objection to be over questions he has about gain-of-function research that may or may not have been conducted in Wuhan. What does Marcela Escobari, the nominee to be the USAID administrator for Latin America and the Caribbean, have to do with gain-of-function research in China? First of all, I can show you fact-check after fact-check that suggests these allegations about gain-of-function research being funded in China are false. But even if the senator thinks there is a legitimate question, what does that have to do with our ability to efficiently spend taxpayer dollars in Latin America and the Caribbean? We just had 2 massive natural disasters happen in Haiti. USAID is managing that response. It's spending taxpayer dollars right now. Why wouldn't we want to have somebody overseeing that spending? Why is that a responsible exercise of U.S. taxpayer dollars to deny our taxpayers the ability to know that there is someone confirmed by the Senate overseeing the expenditure of their money in places like Haiti? How do you complain about the border and then deny the president the personnel necessary to oversee migration from the Northern Triangle northward to the U.S. border? One of the nominees we snuck through was the Assistant Secretary for the Western Hemisphere, but USAID right now is engaged in programming designed to stabilize the economic and security environment in the Northern Triangle. I think both parties agree that that is a key component of our strategy to prevent migration that ends in crises at the border. But once again, Republicans are denying the president the ability to have personnel in place that will address the border crisis. Once again, the minority is denying the president to have people in place who can oversee our COVID response. Once again, the minority is denying the president the ability to have people in place who will oversee our strategy in the Middle East. This is an attempt to decapitate American diplomacy. This is an attempt to stop the president from being able to conduct the business of the executive branch. Never before has this happened. Never before has a minority used this amount of its power to slow down the confirmation of ambassadors. Yes, we can spend floor time on every single one of these assistant administrators, but we've never done that before. When it comes to somebody like Marcela Escobari or Isabel Coleman, people who are non-political, who are unquestionably qualified to do these jobs, we have approved those kind of nominations through unanimous consent. They have proceeded by voice vote, because to require hours of debate on every single one of these nominees would be to gum up the works of the United States Senate. That's why we have had this informal agreement over the years in order to move these kind of non-controversial, non-political nominees expeditiously. That agreement obviously has fallen apart, and the cost not only comes to the reputation and the comity of the United States Senate, but to the security of the nation. You cannot complain about this president's foreign policy as Republicans if you are at the same time using extraordinary powers to deny the president the ability to have diplomats abroad to represent us. It is making us weaker as a nation, and it should stop immediately. I'm very sorry that the senator from Kansas has come to the floor to object to two incredibly qualified, non-controversial nominees to USAID. I hope this blockade comes to an end soon. I yield the floor.